Amid the impermanent flow of life, human beings always carry unanswered questions. Why is there suffering? Why are there birth, aging, sickness, and death? And is there a path that can free humanity from these bonds? More than 2,000 years ago, there was also a man who pondered these very questions. Born into wealth and privilege, he nevertheless could not turn away from the suffering of the world. Renouncing palaces, luxury, fame, and status, he stepped out of worldly life to seek a path of liberation for himself and for all sentient beings. And the story you are about to listen to is the brief account of the life of Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, a journey of awakening that transcends time and space. A religion, no matter how lofty or profound it may be, is still a product of society. As a product of society, religion naturally influences society and, at the same time, is influenced by it in return. This is something unavoidable. The national and ethnic life, together with geographical conditions and the influence of climate and nature, has shaped India into a country with a history different from that of other nations in the world. This is a unique characteristic of ancient and modern India, a land with deep, dense forests, often referred to as the Green Continent, Pei Blue, which greatly influenced the early emergence of humanistic, progressive, and liberative currents of thought. Indeed, any religion, doctrine, or ideology, when it arises, reflects more or less the circumstances of climate, geography, society, and ethnicity that gave birth to it. If examined apart from its actual context, it naturally cannot be fully understood. Buddhist culture likewise sprouted and developed through such conditions of dependent origination, promoting human evolution. Buddhism has a history of more than 2,000 years, spreading from east to west and disseminating its influence across all continents. Throughout this process of transmission, in each era, Buddhism adapted to the social conditions of each region, undergoing certain changes in outward form and expression. Therefore, to speak of the origin of Buddhism, one cannot avoid delving deeply into the historical context of India at that time. This is a very broad subject, requiring an examination of the political and social foundations of India prior to the Buddha's birth, as well as the religious and philosophical thought before the Blessed One appeared, and so on. From this perspective, the profound significance and sacred importance of the birth of Shakyamuni Buddha become even clearer. However, the structure of a correspondence study program necessarily arranges this vast topic to be presented at a more suitable time and place. For this reason, we shall pass over the detailed historical background, mentioning here only a few transitional points and proceeding directly to a brief biography of Shakyamuni Buddha, the eternal great teacher of humankind. Before the appearance of the Blessed One, religious and philosophical thought, as well as political, economic, and social conditions, were extremely complex. The Code of Manu, Manava Dharmashastra, which combined politics and religion, institutionalized many unjust social practices and helped firmly entrench the two ruling classes, the Brahmanas, Brahmin priests, and the Kshatriyas, warriors and kings, above the lower classes that were socially despised, denied legal protection, excluded from religious participation, and forbidden from reciting the Vedic scriptures. These lower classes were the Vaishyas, and even worse, the Sudras. Indian thought at that time was somewhat similar to the intellectual climate of the Warring States period in ancient China. Socially speaking, about 100 years before the Buddha's birth, around the 7th century BCE, Brahmanism had reached its peak. Yet due to the monopoly of the priestly class, religious morality had degenerated into outward ritualism and ostentation. The rigid caste system created social injustice, deprived people of freedom, and gave rise to pessimism and widespread superstition. Many practitioners followed ascetic practices, believing that by drawing near to suffering, they would become accustomed to it and eventually transcend it, or that asceticism would lead to rebirth in heavenly realms. On the other hand, skeptical and nihilistic tendencies emerged, rejecting religious values, karma, and moral principles, and promoting rebellious ideologies. Alongside schools aligned with the Vedic tradition, other movements such as hedonism, sophistry, asceticism, and skepticism arose. Vedic doctrine evolved through 3 stages, commonly known as 3 periods: the Vedic hymns, Veda, 2500 to 1000 BCE, the Brahmanas, 1000 to 800 BCE, and the Upanishads, 800 to 600 BCE. These stages reflect the transformation of Indian religious thought from polytheism to monotheism, and then from monotheism toward philosophical inquiry. Alongside these trends, schools influenced by the Vedic system developed more systematic doctrines, while other thinkers broke away from Vedic thought and founded naturalistic philosophical schools. These intellectual movements, sometimes harmonizing, sometimes conflicting, plunged Indian philosophy into great confusion. Broadly speaking, these trends can be divided into 2 systems: the Vedic system and the anti-Vedic system. The former included 6 major orthodox schools, while the latter comprised the 6 heretical teachers. Living in a society marked by severe caste injustice and religious confusion, people no longer knew what to believe or rely upon. In this deadlocked situation, the Buddha appeared like a warm morning sun, dispelling the dense darkness that had long enveloped human life. He was not only a savior for India at that time, but also the one who opened a new path for humanity. The Buddha was the first to proclaim a human-centered doctrine, taking the human being as the ultimate aim in resolving all the impasses of the age. His life is a sublime, sacred hymn, an embodiment of the vast ocean of wisdom and compassion, a light, a vessel, and a source of faith for all people and all societies, regardless of time or place. Even those who are not Buddhists should seek to understand the profound meaning of this great saint's life in order to illuminate their own lives. Here, we examine the main features of the life of Shakyamuni. About 15 kilometers from the city of Kapilavastu, now identified as Rumini Dehi, in the Auth district, southwest of Nepal and east of the Rapti region. His parents were King Suddhodana and Queen Maya. He belonged to the Shakya clan. King Suddhodana ruled a kingdom located on the foothills of the majestic Himalayas in northeastern India, with Kapilavastu as its capital, now within Nepal. This capital is identified today as Bulya in Basti district, about 3 kilometers northwest of Babuan railway station. One day, during a festival of the stars in Kapilavastu, the king and his ministers performed religious offerings. After Queen Maya offered incense and flowers in the inner palace and distributed food and clothing to the people, she returned to rest and dreamed of a white 6-tusked elephant descending from the sky and entering her right side. Diviners interpreted this as a sign that she would give birth to an extraordinary son of great virtue. King Suddhodana rejoiced, believing his throne would now have an heir. According to custom, when the time of birth approached, Queen Maya returned to her parental home in the Kolia country. On the journey, she entered Lumbin or garden, where flowers were in full bloom. Beneath the shade of a blossoming Ashoka tree, she gave birth to the prince. News of the birth spread quickly, and the entire kingdom rejoiced. On the day of the prince's birth, Kapilavastu appeared unusually joyful. The climate was mild, vegetation lush, rivers full, birds singing, and radiant light pervading everywhere. Ascetics from the mountains gathered to witness the event. Among them was the venerable sage Asita, renowned for his spiritual attainments. He bowed deeply before the prince, then smiled and wept. Asked why, he explained that he rejoiced because the prince possessed the 32 marks of a great being and would surely attain Buddhahood, turning the wheel of the Dharma out of compassion for all beings. He wept because his advanced age meant he would not live to hear the Buddha's teaching. Moved yet troubled by the prophecy, King Suddhodana named his son Siddhartha Gautama, meaning one whose purpose is fulfilled. Queen Maya passed away 7 days after the birth, and the prince was raised by her sister, Mahapajapat Gautama. 1. Education and early life. Prince Siddhartha received a comprehensive education in literature and martial arts. He mastered grammar, arts and crafts, medicine, logic and spiritual disciplines, as well as the 4 Vedas. His intelligence and virtue earned universal admiration. During a plowing festival, he entered deep meditation beneath a rose apple tree, astonishing his father. Fearing the prophecy, King Suddhodana surrounded the prince with luxury, building 3 palaces for different seasons and providing entertainment and comfort. Yet worldly pleasures could not dispel the prince's inner concern for suffering. At 16, he married Princess Yasodhara, hoping family life would bind him to the throne. 2. Encounter with suffering. Eventually permitted to leave the palace, the prince encountered old age, sickness, death, and a renunciant. These sights revealed the impermanence of worldly pleasure and inspired his resolve to seek liberation. When Yasodhara bore a son, the prince remarked, "A fetter has been born," and the child was named Rahula. 3. The Great Renunciation. One night, after a final glance at his sleeping wife and child, the prince left the palace with his attendant Channa and horse Kanthaka. He renounced family, power, and luxury, not out of despair, but out of profound compassion for suffering beings. He was 19 years old, or 29 according to the Theravada tradition. 4. The Quest for Truth. At the Anoma River, he shaved his hair, donned ascetic robes, and began the homeless life of a seeker. He studied under Alara Kalama and Uddaka Ramaputta, mastering their meditative attainments, but found them insufficient for liberation. 5. 6 years of asceticism. At Uruvela, he practiced extreme asceticism with 5 companions for 6 years, reducing his body to near death. Realizing that self-mortification did not lead to enlightenment, he accepted nourishment from Sujata. His companions abandoned him. 6. Enlightenment alone. Beneath the Bodhi tree, he entered deep meditation, attained the 3 knowledges, realized the 4 noble truths, and achieved supreme perfect enlightenment as the morning star rose. From then on, he was known as the Buddha, Shakyamuni. See conclusion. Throughout history, many have conquered others, but few have conquered themselves. The Buddha conquered all inner and outer defilements, and thus deserves the title Great Hero. Out of boundless compassion, he renounced everything to show the path to liberation. His life itself is the greatest teaching. The Buddha demonstrated that through personal effort, any human being can attain enlightenment. No religion places greater trust in human potential than Buddhism. Its enduring message remains: avoid evil, do good, purify the mind, and realize liberation.